Welcome back, coaches. This is the Football Coaching Podcast. I'm Daniel Chamberlain, co-host, here with Joe Daniel, as always.
What's up, Coach?
Still smiling. Spring ball, middle of week 2. It's so much fun. This is what you guys do every year. You just, you don't.
No, we don't.
You have no joy in Virginia.
So again, and maybe this is why so much of my stuff has been adapted to not need pads. We can do anything we want.
Oh, touche. Just can't hit.
We just can't put pads on.
Yeah.
And so, can we go out and install our concepts? Yeah. Can we go out and, I probably wouldn't do it with young kids. But in a small school, the thing about it with a small school, that doesn't have that, we don't have that time set aside, is we don't have enough players to do a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
When I was at bigger schools, when I was at a bigger school, we could do whatever we want in the spring. We could go out there and we could play. We had 115 guys there, right, on a Monday. And facilities weren't built for it. That's the thing. We would have to get real creative, and kids were rotating outside. So we have a group doing speed training. We'd have a group doing some sort of county fair type thing just to occupy them, or maybe
Right.
the JV's working in the middle school, or the middle school is actually that wasn't even middle school kids. That was rising 9 through 12. But the easier it gets to get on those other sports, we have less sports, but it's not that hard to make. And baseball still, baseball and basketball are still what they are. Everybody can't just walk out for those, but anybody can be on the wrestling team, anybody can be on the track team, anybody can be, so, we don't have the numbers, but we can go out and, we're out doing routes. I'm doing offensive line school. We're doing speed training. So, yeah, I think I like the spring ball concept, but I don't miss it. Like, I don't have a desire for it.
Someday I'll be a head coach, and I'm not sure that I'll ever take full advantage because there's absolutely no reason to be in pads right now.
Right.
Even though we do it, but I don't go out with those days with any different intent than I go out on non-padded days. Like, we're gonna run our stuff. That's obviously I'm not the head coach, and so he's the one that's worried about like thud tempo versus, hey, we're gonna full tilt boogie today. I think like one day this week we're gonna like tackle to the ground.
Well, you've got a scrimmage, so you've got to be ready for it, right? I mean, you've got to be
that contact prep.
Yeah.
Which is something I
like
want to get into a little more, but.
I feel like the like D1 schools, they don't have that pressure because they're going to do an inter squad, and it's going to be quick whistles, and it's going to be, they're not going to go out there trying to, obviously they're not going to hit their quarterback. Right. So they don't have to worry about getting into plus their guys could go contact any time. They've been playing football forever.
Right. Yeah. So no, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to get back out and do some install and think about football and worry about kids and what they know and what they're retaining. All the stuff we have to think about in the fall. It's kind of neat to just get that feeling back of my twos really aren't picking up the lingo, or we suck at duo, or whatever. So
I like that. That's the one thing that I do like, is that you kind of get a mulligan. Like my very first year teaching, we were in a 4x4 block, and so we had our first semester, and then we got all new kids, as opposed to most of my teaching career has been in a regular setting where we had the same kids all year, and or was. And luckily that first year, like I, screwed the pooch in the first 2 weeks, right? I mean, it was just downhill from there. I was, 22 years old, and I didn't know what I was doing. And kids ate me alive. And most of them, it was okay, but I had one class that was really, really rough. I was out of 3, so 67% were okay. But at the end of January, I got a whole new group, and then it was smooth sailing from there. So like the thing that I think about that when I think about spring, which is if things don't go well in the spring, you've got a natural reboot where you can just be like, all right, didn't like that, need to have this, need to do it this way, need to do this order. That's why I think that spring should be a dry run. Spring's almost never like fall, right? You've got some kids that aren't there. You've got some coaches that aren't there if you've got other sports still going on. You may have coaches that haven't moved there yet. That are
Right.
late hires and stuff. You've got you may end up moving positions. You may lose a coach. So like it's not gonna look the same. So to go out there and pretend that it's an extension of your fall is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, just that, man. That's you kind of hit it on the head there. It's like you said maybe last week because I know we've talked spring a couple times in a row here, but and I hope you guys aren't getting tired of hearing about spring ball, but by damn, I'm right in the middle of it and I love it and it's football and this is a football podcast. So, um, but I already have a list. Like I'll talk about the Army's AAR process, so after action reviews.
Right.
Yesterday was the hottest day on record this year yet, right? It was our first 90-degree day in Oklahoma, high humidity. It was terrible. And I went out and tried to install 2 new plays, like one run, one pass after the weekend break. So I
Yeah.
tried to be all review to finish up Thursday, Friday. Like, let's just be smooth in the weekend. And I came back and like the kids were dead. Mentally, I was dead. I was exhausted. It was just one of those. So that went right in the AAR. So in the fall, we will not, we will not install the
Mm-hmm.
Monday following the weekend.
Right.
Other things that made the list, like I talked to Ron Mackey before, I don't know, probably a few weeks ago. Tonight we're going to talk about mirrored concepts and full field concepts, and I'm trying full field for the first time. Joe's a huge mirrored concepts guy because that's what Joe Daniel football sells. Of course, I called Ron because Ron is a air raid dude. Anyway, and he basically told me, he said, air raid guys are big on this 3-day install, but they're BSing you because it's really like a 6-day install because they repeat each day. So it's day 1 twice, day 2 twice, day 3 twice. And he was like, that way you install and you get all the bugs out, and the next day you come out, it should be smooth sailing, refresh. And I should have listened more. So Ron, if you're listening, I should have listened to you more. And that is going for sure, forever and ever and ever from now on, we will just repeat. So it'll be a 5-day install like what you do. I love that concept. But it will be day 1, day 1B. And that way we iron out whatever it is. So depth
And
chart.
we're BSing a little bit too, if you want to get into it. I mean, we want to have the core system. I just went over the install plan for the 425 with one of our coaches on a call this afternoon, and it was like, listen, we get to this point, you may want to, do you want to run Tiger Cat? Yeah, we want to run Tiger Cat. Cool. What's your schedule like? And it's like, well, we've got scrimmage basically on day 6, and I was like, well, you may want to just push Tiger Cat to the following Monday, Tuesday, if we were just doing and get your goal line in because you might need that. To whereas normally the goal line would be day 6, day 7, because that's not your core scheme. And, we're not going to install every zone blitz. We're not going to have this. So, I usually, if I think we're going to be a heavy zone blitz team, I'll try to install one just to get the 3 under 3 deep concept in. So we're really just getting into all the concepts. I'm actually working on our June newsletter right now, and which is on special teams. And
Nice.
I want to install the entire special teams package in one day. But the fact of the matter is nothing else is going in and nothing is changing. If you do it, I think if you do special teams the right way, at least the way that I like to do it, there's probably other ways and better ways. But for somebody with a small staff, small number of kids, this is what works. And this is who we work with. Small, medium-sized schools, low numbers, limited staff, lack of experience are all common. We're going to have a lot of starters on these things, and they got to learn the offense and the defense and the special teams, right?
Right. Best 11. You have to.
Yeah, I mean, we got 25 guys. 5 of them we really don't want out there, right? Unless we can avoid it. They're good kids, but the other 20, man, they're either first or second at any given time. So, and then you take the quarterback, and he doesn't play. If we don't play the quarterback on defense, some people do, some people don't. I try not to. It's like, all right, we're down one more.
Yeah.
Of course, then I'd make him the long snapper, but he's not allowed to hit him. So,
Yeah.
So yeah, like, and the whole idea behind that is the exact same thing as the 5-day install, in that we're going to get all of this in, and then we're going to spend the next 4 months polishing.
That's
And that's it.
Yeah, that's that's kinda what I went into spring with was that attitude, like, I wanna see every play ran on grass twice, and that way I have film to go back and teach you off of, and it's not a blown play the first time or what, right? We didn't
Right.
accidentally run it perfect, and I have no coaching tape, and I'm realizing, it's just not this isn't the year for that. We've just new staff, new scheme, offense and defense. It's just not the year for that, so but, I'm having a ton of fun, spring's a blast. I once again, if we didn't have it, I would be just like you were talking about, just go out with helmets or nothing, honestly. Hell,
We don't
keep
use
your head
helmets.
out of the
We don't
game.
have helmets on, so
Yeah, go out and do nothing and just run your
yeah.
concepts. There's nothing wrong with down
We
blocking a
wear
guy
the
with no helmet on.
depending on what we're doing. In a regular practice day, we don't. But if we're doing like actual 7-on-7, we got the guardian caps and stuff, that kind of
Oh,
stuff.
for sure. Yeah.
Um,
So,
so
anywho.
we didn't used to.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, like nothing ever happened. Like the guardian caps, God bless that company. Good for you. Nothing ever happened. I don't know. I know. I'm sure coaches are listening to this with a horror story in mind. I
Yeah.
get it. Things can happen. They can happen anytime. I don't think that they're a bad thing. God bless that company, though.
Did you see the NFL's rule this year that they might be worn in game?
I saw that. Yeah,
How crazy would that be?
we had a kid when I was in high school, back in the '60s, and it's not true. It was in the '90s.
I mean, you also think you're a Southerner, so I don't know.
I was
Believe you
playing
more.
football. I was high school football in Georgia. I think I'm a Southerner. Um, Pretty sure that's the definition. So anyway, we had a kid, and his name was Matt Dahlhausen, I think. There were so many mispronunciations of it.
For sure.
But it was everybody's seen the movie Spaceballs, right? Well, he got a couple concussions, and they gave him a
Mm-mm.
lid for his helmet that
An old school
made him look
cap.
like so he looked like Lord Helmet, and so we had a coach who called him Lord Diehausen. And
That
then
sounds like it's straight out Star
luckily
Wars.
this is more common now because he was the only kid, right? And it looked like all sorts of things that you can think of, and they're
Hey,
better now.
honestly, those concussions are nothing to mess with. Like, I've known
No,
a coach I had in high school, his son I mean, I was out of school by then, but his son came up and was gonna be a freak athlete and got to his 3rd one in, like, the freshman year, and he was like, he's supposed to be a D1 or D2, get a scholarship kid, and now I have to make that decision, like, is his future of being a vegetable more
right,
likely than him ever making it to get that $40,000 or whatever? Like, how
right,
much is your health worth? So, if you need the special helmet, get one.
yeah,
Yes, they're goofy as shit, but man, if they
yeah,
work, do your thing.
but
And if
no,
you think Guardian caps work, by
yeah.
all means, sell out.
And our helmets in general, like those of you that never put on a shut that was made in 19, this is of course, and I'll tell you how old these helmets were is that my senior season was 1997, and my coaches let me walk with my helmet, which means I'm guessing that it was about to age out
Was
because I
that even
still
a thing in the '90s? Could
because
you
I
age
still
out a
I
helmet?
don't even know if they aged out. We had a lot of money. They were probably just going to buy new ones. I took my helmet, so I don't think they were buying brand new ones, but I still have that helmet, and I can tell you, um, also it has no paint on it,
Right.
but I can tell you that like it was not like the helmets today. It
Yeah,
is we've advanced a great deal in helmet technology, and I can't
for
even
sure.
imagine going back, 10 years before that, and 10 years before that, like just how much the technology, and of course you go back to even further than that, and it's like not even a thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's level up.
What's your level up, Joe?
Sunday. So Friday night, I got a call from my weightlifting coach, or an email from my weightlifting coach, as I was lifting in our basement, and asked me if I would fill in a spot for the Lift PD fundraiser um, on Sunday, and they just needed people to lift. They had a couple of people drop out, injuries and stuff, and they just needed to fill out the session. Um, and so I agreed to do it on 2 days' notice. 48 hours, not even 48 hours, 36 hours. And I sent an email out to our coaches, to our JDFB coaches, and I sent a couple texts out to some friends and family. Was able to raise a good amount of money. I don't know how much. I think it was over 500 in about 36 hours. So that was, glad to do that, because they were like, "You don't have to fundraise," and I was like, "Nah, I don't really work that way. If we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it." Um, I'm fortunate to have the access to raise that money and do those things. So I appreciate all the coaches that donated and supported that, as well as family members who did as well, and friends. And got out there. I haven't done a heavy. It was a clean competition, so they want as many people to be able to participate. So one of the gyms involved is a CrossFit gym. It's not all weightlifters. So the CrossFitters don't exactly, they do all the weightlifting moves. They just do them a little bit different. And so they made it a clean competition, so it was something that you could lift a decent amount of weight and more people could be involved in. And so it was a clean, and that was it. Um,
Nice.
and our Chris Lawyer, who writes JDFB Weight Room, had actually programmed our lifts so that it would be a heavy clean day. So even
Right.
if I hadn't done it, I was just doing my workout on a stage.
So he hooked
Um,
you up. That's nice of him.
but it was cool, and hit a good number. Took a shot at a higher number, but it's been a while out. But I was very happy with the lifts, and it was a cool event. So that would be my level up. And
Helping
it's
your
Lift
family
PD, by the
members.
way, is for they use exercise to help people with Parkinson's disease to navigate and live their lives. Parkinson's is these are all facts that I was told. Parkinson's is not a fatal disease, but it is a disease that obviously makes life difficult, and so they try to make that better through training. And currently, they are maxed out at the number of people that they can help, and so these fundraisers help them to be able to bring in more coaches to expand.
Awesome. My level up also is a fundraiser, and it's the same one that I've kind of been talking about for a couple weeks. We are getting closer and closer to the Sulphur Strong Football Clinic. Um, and this is something I went into with like emotion and some gumption, and like we are going to do this thing, and never was it's not going to work out an option. And I'm glad I had that, because there was a lull in getting coaches to sign up to speak, getting text back. And then, like you and Kenny were pretty immediate, like, yes, we want to help. Let's do this. Which is greatly appreciated and not expected. I understand everyone's busy, and this is for a little town that is nowhere near y'all. But as the support came rolling in, it's been really neat. I actually have a coach out of Idaho who's going to match up to $3,000 for anybody from his state who signs up. Um,
Nice.
and weirdly, I've got to get the graphic up for that. Now think of it. Um, we've had huge support from our listeners. On the podcast, I've had a lot of emails and text and DMs and stuff. So it's just been really cool watching people come together. And when it's a win-win, like it's almost you should have probably been going to a clinic of some kind anyway. So it's really
Right.
neat that this one fell in that weird era or area after traveling's over for clinics, but before fall ball starts. So just it worked out really well. I even tried to rush into it, like I'm gonna do this in 4 days, and then okay, 10 days, and then I was like, no, 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 let's wait. So we've got a little bit of some time here before it'll go down, but I think it's been really neat to watch it spread. So, kind of my level up's the same thing. And a lot of people ask, like, what are those monies for? And I will never have hands on the money. I'm working through coachtube.com. Wade is the CEO over there, and he's been super cool, super helpful, and helped me get it all set up. They're going to run all the Zoom rooms and all that. So, but they will, I don't know the exact specifics of it yet, but all the monies will go to, I'm going to just send it to the athletic program at the school. And that way they can do with it as it will. But I know that's a non-taxed situation, right? So at no point will we ever have to worry about taxation to where any of that money gets lost. So
Right.
uh, talk about a level up, man. When you put together an event that is 4 days long, we're doing 5 events each night for 4 nights, hour and a half a night. trying to get coaches to come on and present a thing. I know Coach Vass did this, for a local coach last year. And a lot of his ended up being whiteboard, like because it was college coaches and NFL
Right.
coaches, and they were like, I don't have a stupid presentation. So it's been really neat to see the high school coaches get a shot at this, and they are, thankfully, most of them are like, yeah, I got a presentation, pick one, or I will put something together, right? So it's been awesome. It's been a great experience to prove that my network is there, because sometimes in the Twitterverse you run into the same coaches over and over, and you don't know what that connection really is. Is it just a likes? Or if I was in need of something, can I really reach out and use that network? So it's been neat watching that show up. So overall, great experience, a great level up for me, bettering myself and doing something for others. So.
Yep. We're looking forward to it. So I was talking to my wife about that tonight. So I said, we're going to be on the podcast at 8:30 because birthday party got weather. She's
Yes.
like, oh no, I always forget that he's in Oklahoma. I'm like, I don't think it's that weather, but then we were talking about the fundraiser. So
Yeah.
it was brought up tonight.
Yeah, so we've got to experience that a few times. Tornado warnings. We're under a warning right now. One time,
yeah.
I think I had to get off here, right, just because
That's
there's
right.
a tornado a mile from the house or some crap. So it's real. It's here. But yeah. Oh, we appreciate everyone supporting that. Sulfurstrong.coachesclinic.com. Tickets are $20 right now. Should be still. I have to think about this. Is 2 weeks out. There is a cutoff date, and it will go up to $35 a ticket. So get your early bird pricing. I don't even know the date on that right now, to be honest. That's part of this learn as I go process. Is like, when do I say, okay, let's go. let's really make some dough. So anyway, onwards and upwards. Would you like to pay the bills here, or
we do it at the end?
Sweet. Bills paid at the end. Question 1. So tonight we're going to talk mainly about mirrored concepts. I, being a younger coach coming up, watching local, University of Oklahoma, a lot of it's been in the Lincoln Riley era, which is a bunch of GT counter and GH counter and air raid schemes. I have been persuaded to the full field concepts. And so, but I did run mirrored schemes as a youth, right? When I played ball, we were in a flex bone or wing tee or one of those. I don't know. I was too stupid to even remember what we were in.
Right.
And we ran mirrored concepts on the outside. So run the route tree every day. That was wide receiver practice, and then block for the rest of the 3 hours. So I look forward to tonight kind of digging back in at getting the advantages of those mirrored routes, because I'm kind of biased, because what I do remember of them is doing the same crap for hours and never using it in the game. So
Right.
I'm pretty anxious to learn the advantages.
And I think that is where some of this, I'm always confused. Now I'm not completely confused, because I remember my early years of coaching and the idea that mirrored concepts were like the passing for dummies type of thing. And I was just going to run the same thing over here and over here, like it was lazy or something. And then sometimes people would be like, well, we're going to run they're not mirrored, but we got a cover 3 beater over here and a man beater over here.
Right.
Because they run cover 1, which is kind of the next step, I guess, in that whole concept of mirrored versus, and then you start looking at the full field progression. And as I've talked on here before many times, I absolutely loved the first time that I heard Chris Hatcher. And Chris Hatcher was the first air raid coach that I happened to be at a clinic for, and I knew nothing about it. I knew how mummy and but this was very early, and I was not in a position to have any say on what we did,
Right.
and so it didn't really matter to me, and I was kind of gravitating already towards the defensive side. Let me get these out of the way. The first time that I heard Chris Hatcher talk it absolutely, and Hatcher for the he's off the Hal Mummy tree. He won national championships at more than one, I think, at Valdosta State. He's from South Georgia, I believe, and so I know he's from Georgia, but I think South Georgia. It was funny because at that time I had never been to a Glazier clinic, so this is very because my first Glazier clinic was 2007, so this was very early. This is 3 or 4 years into my coaching career, if not less. And it was funny because Hatcher has a pretty thick accent, and I had been living. I will go with the joke here. To me, moving here initially, and by the way, Marietta is not exactly Marietta is only 30% like native. People move in from everywhere to be in the Atlanta. But when I was there, when I was growing up, everybo's
Right.
parents were from somewhere else. My parents were from somewhere else. It just happened they were from Montgomery and Charlotte. They weren't exactly from, the North. But the accent was something that I missed like greatly, and I remember I was sitting next to one of our coaches who was like, "I can't even understand him," and I was like, "I'll explain it to you." I understand everywhere. I don't speak that way, but I understand it. I can speak that way.
Right.
And I understand every word of it. So I really loved Hatcher, and I got all of the VHS tapes that were on clearance, probably at Championship Productions, of Air Raid 1 and Air Raid 2. And I loved it. And those notes are still, by the way, on JDFB in the clinic notes section, I think, for our platinum members. So if you ever just need a quick reference to the old Air Raid stuff, and Air Raid's evolved and more into some different things, but um, I just remember so much of that, and it made sense to me. So in that case, probably early on, I was like, why isn't everybody doing this? Because I just heard this guy who won national championship at Valdosta State, and he just explained how it works. And so obviously anybody who's doing anything else is
It's
too
wrong.
too stupid to understand this clearly. And of course, then years go by, and I learn Bill Mountjoy's system, which is mirrored concepts, but I learn everything about this and the tie-in with the protection and attacking coverages and the trigger reads and horizontal stretches and vertical stretches and object receiver routes and tagging concepts. And I realized that our mirrored concepts. Now, maybe if you are a team who, like you said, we run whatever, hitch seam and slant shoot, and we never call it, but that's all that we have, and there's no thought process beyond that, then yeah, maybe that is, lazy or whatever. Um, we've got 7 different concepts out of our quick game, and that's not even the entire quick game package. But we can attack anything out of quick game. That's before 5-step. And we only have 5-step concepts, but we can tag them to attack anything.
Right.
We have a main cover 3, we have a main cover 2, we have a main man concept, and then another one that we can use, another 2 cover 3 concepts, 2 man concepts, 2 quarters concepts that we can run, but then we can tag them. We can do anything with them. And so today, I know, and again, maybe not all mirror concept packages are built the same, and that's no different than hey, every 4-4 defense is not the same, right? Some guys
Right.
just found a playbook online and lined them up, and it looks like a 4-4, and then it's played like absolute trash because they don't worry about run fits or techniques, or all they have is an alignment. I call this guy an outside linebacker, therefore he's outside linebacker. Like, there's a lot of people doing that on defense. There's a lot of people, by the way, just to go to an extreme example, there's a lot of people who think they're running a 4-3 defense, and I know the Miami 4-3 defense, and I know how it's supposed to be run, and I know all of the fits, and I know the beautiful dance that is this block down, step down, and squeeze and spill, and all of those things, and the force and the spill, and how quarters coverage, cover 2, and how cover 3 doesn't really fit. And I know a lot of people who are a 4-3 defense because we think we have 4 defensive linemen and 3 linebackers. And so it's the same thing. You can have a crappy 4-3 defense, call it a 4-3 defense, and if that's all you know of the 4-3 defense, you're like, 4-3 defense sucks. 100% agree. Or you could be like, 4-3 defense is really simple. You can make it really simple. It won't be very good because it's a 7-man front that has some certain complexities. But you want to optimize it. You optimize the 4-2-5, and it's a lot. We're never bored in the 4-2-5, but some guys are like, that's too simple. I'm like, okay, teach me your complex defense. We have 9,000 blitz packages. Okay, cool. How do you use them? Well, we combine them with our 27 different coverage packages. Cool. Like, that's not what I'm asking. Like, what are the details of your defense? It's the same thing with our mirrored concepts. The details of how the concepts, we use the concepts to attack, the details of the alignment of the receivers, the footwork of the receivers, how the protection ties in, that we have 2 check releases, how we can attack horizontal stretches, how we can attack vertical stretches, all of that stuff. Like, it's just, I guess when somebody says mirrored concepts are simpler, it's like, if you want it to be, but yours aren't better.
Right. So I never asked the first question here. What are mirrored concepts? And so for y'all that don't know, it's just generally running the exact same passing route or the routes on each side of the field. So you mentioned the slant shoot, right? So my outside guys, both number ones are slanting, both number twos are running a speed out at whatever your distance is, 3 yards, 1 yard, 5 yards, wherever you want your out to be.
What we would call a shoot or a flat route.
There you go.
Outside guy running a slant, inside guy running a shoot or a slant or an arrow, some slant arrows, slant.
Right.
Some teams
And so
combine it with a bubble. There's different ways you can do it, but
and like you said, there's a whole bunch of concepts there. I think
right.
where it's beneficial, and we're gonna get into the whole thing here, but you're gonna have a solo receiver sometimes that just has a route. You're gonna have how do you handle trips?
We don't.
What is it? So there's no trips.
There's things that we can do out of trip. I mean, we obviously have trips concepts, obviously,
but you
but our
wouldn't
base
mirror it to
passing
the
game
inside.
is run out of 2x2 sets.
There you go.
And that is not so much because of the routes, although that figures in. That is as much because of the check release and our ability to pick up 7 men, and never have to worry about. So the backside of that is going to have a check release on it. Front side is going to have the running back, and the backside is going to have a check release. Now, that's not as important in the it's not as important in the quick game. So, like when you're talking about slant shoot, that's a 3-step route. We don't have to worry about the check releases as much,
Right.
but we can. But in the and the other thing that we'll do is, one of the things that we can do with those trips concepts is there's a lot of times that we can use our man concepts or our mirrored concept. And as long as we know that you are not going to, if you're a team that doesn't like to blitz, now I can, use the running back as the number 2 receiver, and then to the weak side, and the number 3 receiver or number 2 or number 1 can be what is essentially the running back holding the linebacker on the inside, running a hook, or we can put them on some other route concept, tagged route concept if we want to. So, if you are a team that wants to bring the house, we have man beaters out of trips. They're just not our base mirrored concepts.
Got you. So what are mirrored concepts? That's a fairly simple question to answer tonight. We've kind of gone over that. Second question here, why would you use mirrored concepts over full field?
It is, I mean, one of the things is it is simple, I guess. One of the things that we see in air raid teams a lot of the times, I don't know if you guys are doing this, but we used to see a lot in air raid teams, is that their receivers are the left and the right,
Right.
and here's the the left outside receiver, and they might number the receivers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 instead of the number 1 on the left and the number 1 on the right and the number 2 on the right and the number 2 on the left. To whereas our receivers are generally, I have a Z receiver who is able to move around a lot. He's more of he's more of your slot guy. He's off the ball. And I have an X receiver who is on the ball and is more of the in an ideal world, and again, you got 25 guys, this doesn't always happen.
You get who
But
you get,
usually
right?
we're going to have one that we want to move around. We might do some jet stuff with them, different things that's going to be in the slot. It's going to be the Z, and then the X is our outside receiver that is on the ball, and he's more often your fade guy, your down the field threat. Again, that doesn't always happen, but in an ideal world, I've had years where that wasn't the case at all. So, and then so. But in theory, I guess it is easier if we say, hey, 56 is 56, and the outside receiver, unless tagged, and we don't generally tag the outside receiver in 56, the outside receiver, unless tagged, is running a curl route. So 56, 57 is curl. And that means the inside receiver is running the flat route. So it's curl flat concept. So whoever the H or the Y is has the flat route. And of course, if we go to a twins set, where the Z and the X are on the same side, usually the Z's inside. Well, he's got a flat route now. So it is, I guess, in that sense, easy. But if I'm always the left side guy, most of those, they simplify it their own way. So from the concept of the receivers, I don't think that it's necessarily simpler to teach. I think that the air raid guys have found their own way to make it simple for their guys.
Right.
All of our guys are the same level of football. It's one of the funny things about my job is the number of coaches who say, well, our guys just don't have the football IQ.
That's everybody, baby.
Everybody, dude, and that's our job. Everybody, and that's our job. Like, I don't know if I always say, like, apparently, according to the movie in West Canaan, Texas, it's different. But for everybody else,
oh man,
let me tell you, dude, these kids that are growing up in Massachusetts, probably a bad choice because I think they're just maybe a little bit smarter on the whole, but they aren't studying football either, right? They're like football is not the king there, and these guys that are growing up in Iowa, I can tell you that like they may be better wrestlers, but they aren't naturally football geniuses. I coached them, and I coached kids from Miami, and they were physical football geniuses, but mentally they're in the same place. And these were college. I mean, these kids have played 4 years and were good at it. What we do see is if you've ever coached an all-star game, kids who have played for 4 years at a high level are going to have a higher IQ, so a higher football IQ, just because they've played more football, they've been coached more. So if your kids are all young, yeah, they don't have a high football IQ. They're not supposed to. Where are they going to learn this stuff?
Yeah,
like
they aren't listening to podcasts.
Yeah, I mean, again, like the odds of. And I do get kids who are high school and will, email, and even some of them are members who are like, I just want to be a football coach. And I'm like, cool, but listen, you need to compartmentalize this. And I will tell them, you need to study football with JDFB because you want to be a football coach, and you need to do what your coaches say because you want to be a football player. And so you have to, and generally the kids that are doing that are more intelligent. They're thinking ahead, like they're a little more cerebral. They probably aren't that good anyway. I'm just kidding. Sorry, guys, if you're listening. No, you probably are. You've probably made yourself good just because you're thinking about it. But the like, we don't like. Just the little girl. This is movie day today. Okay, the little girl in Remember the Titans, right? That's not your normal kid.
No,
like that's not what your players are supposed to be like. They're just not. And so we all have to figure out how to simplify this. So I don't think that the air raid, if I thought it was simpler, like, hell, I'd probably do it because I understand it. If I thought it was more complex, there's no way I would do it. I think we just find a way to simplify it. And for us in Mirror Concepts, as I've said, why do we use mirrored concepts? I don't think that it's simpler. I think that you could probably make an argument that if you're gonna, again, go back to, hey, if we want to really do a poor job of this, then it can be simpler. But that's because we're doing a poor job of it. I can make anything simple by not teaching it very well, and then just yell at the kids for not doing it right. Like that's I've been there. It's pretty easy. The advantage that mirrored concepts give us is that I think that the read for the quarterback might be easier, because we can say, and again, if your quarterback, I don't think that most coaches are going out there and going, you got to read them, 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5. We've got a better idea than that, right? We've got a better idea hitting the field than that. But our quarterback is reading one side of the field. He has basically 1 or 2 reads, meaning that he has 2 or 3 options. We have a trigger read that will tell him not to go that way and to go the other way. And then if he goes the other way, he's only got 1 read. And that tells him to go to number 1 or number 2, or number 2 or number 1, depending on if it's outside breaking or inside breaking. We have all that built in. So, I mean, the simple explanation is that's what I learned and that's what I like.
I love that you close with that, because I think just like everything else in football, it's so variable. You've got to coach what you know.
Right.
And look, I've started learning these air raid concepts, and maybe like I said earlier, my perception of the mirrored stuff is we're going to run the ball 58 times a game. We're going to throw twice.
Yeah, no,
So stock block, but to keep you from getting bored, we're going to pretend that we run 1 through 9 routes to give you something to do. We're developing you as a receiver.
Yeah.
Okay, so I 100% am a little biased because of that. But
you
also,
learned it honestly. It was a throwaway.
Yes,
and you can make it real simple that way. But we can also have the leading passing attack in the
for sure.
Region Player of the Year and all-state quarterbacks and all-state receivers too.
What I'm also identifying now as I install these air raid schemes is we're tagging the shit out of them too. We're going to a cover 1 beater and a cover 3 beater too. We're doing the same stuff. It's just all the receivers, we're not ever telling the quarterback you only do this. And like you talked about 1 through 5 progression. I don't teach that. I teach quick game to one side, then find your OTB, and then your oh shit throw on the backside.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So we're doing the same thing that you're doing, except if we picked wrong on which side we called the play to, we've built in that oh shit route to where you are pre-snap. I assume you're picking what side you actually want to throw to. No, you're calling it.
Well, there's a call side, but there's a trigger.
Okay, yeah, and then your trigger
the trigger indicates
which side to go back to, right?
The trigger is so on a intermediate route. So, like say curl flat, the trigger is the backside linebacker. If the backside linebacker rotates on his pass drop to the middle of the field, we'll go backside because we know that we now have a numbers advantage. If it's a deeper concept, then it's the free safety or the backside safety. If he rotates, because we know basically what we know now is we've got somebody showing up
right
extra to that side, and we know that we've got numbers so take curl flat route. We've got a 3-man side to 2-man side, right? We've got a hook curl flat route. We've got the hook, which is the running back attacking the linebacker. Almost never throw it, but because high school linebackers don't clear out that fast. We've had one team that we play that cleared out like that, and we threw it. But quite honestly, they cleared out so fast that we were better off running draw. It was like, let's just cut the middleman out. We just take it, draw. So very rarely gets thrown. He's there to hold the linebacker, so that we can't have somebody dropping down on the flat route and the linebacker getting underneath the curl route. That's what we can't have. So then as long as the linebacker doesn't fly out, we're going to read. Because it's primary cover 3 beater, we're going to read the so it's an inside breaking route. Curl's an inside breaking route, so we read it from inside out. So we read the hook to the curl to the flat. Yeah. If the will linebacker were to rotate over, then we go to the backside where we expect now to have a overhang safety, an outside linebacker who is responsible for curl flat, and he can't cover curl and flat. And so that would be the trigger. And honestly, with young quarterbacks, we teach it, but we teach it more to get his eyes, because
Yeah.
very rarely with young defenses are they going to do all of this. We don't see much of it. It's
Yeah.
more important to get him to not give it away with his eyes. So we very rarely have to go away from it. But yeah,
Yeah.
we have a built-in we have a built-in read that will tell him to go to the backside.
Yeah. So I think at the end of the day, it is just really what you want to do. I don't think that there's like maybe if your kids can learn, because a lot of the air raid stuff I'm finding is sequential reads, like even the route you run. You talked about it earlier. My X receiver is always on the left.
Mm-hmm.
He might be running the first route in the sequence, or he might be running the fourth route, depending on which way I call the pass. To where in a mirrored system, both of them are running the number one route, right? Whatever the first
Right.
route called is, and the
Right.
second two guys are both. So we're telling them exactly what route versus we just use a word and it tells all four guys what to do at the same time, which
Right.
you could do in a
Yeah. So
mirrored
what we'll do in
concept
our
too.
mirrored,
So
like if we want to run a wheel, we might go. So a lot of times if we want to run a wheel, we're going to go to twin set so that our Z is running the wheel rather than having our H or our Y running the wheel. So
right,
we might go trick one for our formation. We trick one 56Z wheel, and trick 156Z wheel is we're going to have the everybody running the 56 and the H back is aligned outside. He's the number one receiver now on the other side, so he's running the curl, and the Y is running the check release to the flat. And the H or the R is check releasing to the hook, and we've got a wheel route. And so a wheel is an object receiver tag. And an object receiver tag means we've seen something, throw the object receiver route. It's there. We've seen it. It's supposed to be there. Throw it. Unless and the only time the object receiver route isn't there is if, let's say, the strong safety decides to lock on man with the wheel. Well, now the curl's wide open.
right,
That very rarely happens. But we have those tags on it. So we tag, we tag our hitch seam to be all hitch, or we tag it to be. So we have 4 hitches all the way across. We tag it to be 4 verts by tagging up on it, and we all run the go routes. We have 4 verts. We can tag it to be, hitch and go. We can tag it to be. So now that's an object receiver route. So kind of a man beater or shake a come route. We used to tag with an out route. We're gonna do a little bit different this year, but it's essentially an option route for the number 2 receiver, based off of the leverage of the number of the overhang or of the safety. So we've got all those things, and they're easy to control. So again, the big frustration for me is exactly what you're talking about. The idea that there's got to be more to it than this. And it's like,
right,
there absolutely is. And it's kind of like, if we want to dive into the 4-2-5 defense, just as an example, is the 4-2-5 defense simple? It's a really thin playbook,
right.
but I can give you a 9-hour clinic speech and never install a coverage because of the amount of detail that you can be teaching. And if you think that I talk about it for 9 hours, that I'm going to be able to teach those kids in 16 weeks to do all of that, not all 11 of them, and certainly not 22 of them. It's, with our offensive line, I talk about offensive line all the time, right? If you're bored on the offensive line, and we had Coach, I just blanked out.
Coach Morrissey.
Yeah. And we're both passionate offensive line guys. Like, we're never bored. If you're bored, if you think that you need to get the boards out, get the sleds out, and make them tough, and make them because you're bored, you're not an offensive line guy yet. You'll get there. It's hard not to. If you
Right,
stick with it long enough, you'll figure it out, because you start to realize that, like, those things don't work. What works is figuring out how to talk and communicate and combo and all those things. That's what works on offensive line. Well, it's the same thing with our passing attack. You can say that the air raid concept works better. So pick one. I don't care. You can be like, I see guys are like, whatever, Y cross is like the greatest concept ever. Mesh is unbelievable. And I love mesh. As we've talked to, Ron and I have talked many times. Mesh is incredible. It's fantastic. It's hard. Like, you
right.
want to talk about one that's hard?
We're not running
That's
it.
hard. Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, most air raid coaches don't run it. It's like, to me, I'm like, that's my 4-3 defensive passing, right? It's like, I wish I could run that, because this is awesome, but I don't have the dudes, I don't have the teaching, I don't have the time,
Time.
I don't have all of that stuff.
Yeah.
But on paper, holy crap, greatest concept ever.
I love watching it in the NFL.
Yeah, I don't know why they call
Love it.
anything else. Like, what are you doing? Just run
Why do you
that.
have 2? Why do you have 2 concepts, coach? Run mesh.
Dude, run mesh until they get into 2-man and then hand it off. Well, why is this hard? But, I don't think I could teach a kid to execute at that level. So, um,
If you wanna hear Joe do a 4.25 speech, show up at 6:30 PM Central, on
that's
June the
7:30
20th.
American time. Yeah.
Oh god. God's time is 6:30 PM on June 20th. And, look, the breadbasket America feeds you all, we determine what time it is,
I
okay?
just I flew to Dallas at the beginning of this month, and I'd forgotten how much there is not stuff out there.
Oh my god, okay.
I was looking out the window.
Anyway,
I was like, I mean, look, I lived in Iowa. I've got an Iowa area code, but I'm looking out the window going, man, I forgot. There's just
I'm
whole open space in between.
yeah. I know we're a little bit pressed for time tonight, and I don't wanna
Yeah.
go over. I will say I almost wonder, and maybe I would do a study on if you run double tight a lot or like you with a Y and an H, that type of offense, if the mirrored works better versus trying to get those 2 bigger blocking running guys out in pass concepts that vary and a lot of shallow, a lot of the drags for right out routes that I need some speed.
Space.
Maybe that's not for them.
They're more
So,
spacing based, and also there's the added. I am very very much into the run game. And so, but I mean, I've talked to Ron, and we've talked to Ron, and Ron's like, running 3 concepts. It's like, it's not a deep playbook.
yeah,
Um, but that was Chris Hatcher's thing, right? Chris Hatcher's ideal game, and this is when I first learned it. Hatcher's ideal game was no runs. He wanted short throws, the shallows,
yeah.
screen game.
The
That was
bubbles off the
his,
back,
yeah,
man, like,
bubbles. That was his run game. The only run play he had was inside zone. Maybe it was a zone read. I don't even remember. But at that time, I don't even know if we were doing zone read other than, Urban Meyer. And so and probably, a couple others, but it hadn't become the thing yet. So, he's running inside zone, and that's basically it. And then, at least in this clinic talk, you have to take,
grain of salt.
take it with a grain of salt. Like, what we talk about in a clinic is not necessarily what looks like in week 8, right?
And then he's running trap and duo and outside zone and
Week 8, we're
counter
solving problems, and we're like, okay, we got to do this and that.
for sure.
It's What are the things I think the thing that I would say is, depending on, what do you want to run, what do you want to do? I think that if you can't go wrong either way. So if you really like the things that we're doing in the pistol power offense system, run game wise, I would go ahead and run our pass game, because it's a system and everything is, and we talk about, we got to install zone because that's the pass protection count too. Everything is a system. And so that is what I would say to you. Now, if the air raid concepts, if you don't really give a crap about the run game, and not that not that air raid doesn't have run game or that you can run the ball, I don't mean that at all, but like, if the thing that really enamors you and gets you excited is Mike Leach, then maybe you should be air raid based. My biggest concern with the air raid base is, I do believe that you need a quarterback, and I don't. That's the one thing. If I was going to centerpiece something,
For sure. We'll jet through this last piece real quick, and we're talking about game planning mirrored concepts. I know we've kind of compared the two. We're not really here to compare them, as you can tell. Run
right?
what you feel good with. But if you pick mirrored concepts, Joe has got the way to game plan. So, Joe, how are you game planning to get the most out of your mirrored concepts?
I think the actual, like, okay, this is what we're doing in our game plan is not anything special. In that, all right, they're a base cover 3 team, we're running our cover 3 beaters. They're a base cover 1 team, we're running our cover, which are actually pretty similar. The cover 1 beaters and the cover 3 beaters are pretty similar. They're a base cover 2, or they're base quarters. We have our quarters beaters, we have our man beaters, we have our 0 beaters, we have our 1 beaters, we have our cover 3 beaters. And then what we're looking at is, how are they going to react? Because I know if you're a base cover 3 team and you play cover 3, curl flat is going to be there.
Yeah.
So one of two things is going to happen. Number one, you're going to come out in a completely new coverage, and that's fine. I'm 100% fine with that. I always go back to Georgia all of a sudden being a pattern match quarters team and just getting absolutely torched 1 year by Alabama. And let me tell you, your kids aren't any smarter, better, more equipped. Your coaches certainly aren't. So by all means, come at us, install pattern match on Tuesday, and see us on Friday. I don't care. We'll fix it. So, you know, we know that curl flat is going to be open. Now, their kids, the quarterbacks broke up with his girlfriend or whatever. It doesn't always mean that it works, but we know that it's open. That's probably one of the most frustrating things is when it's open, you just can't hit it, and it ain't happening that day. But then what is the expectation? Okay, well, if we run curl flat and it works, the corner's going to start driving down, and so we're going to run the curl wheel, or the corner's going to start playing inside leverage, and we're going to run deep out. So that's how we start to work those things together. We always have a feature. There's always a route concept that we like the best.
Yes.
And then we have, we know that if we hit fade, the corner's going to back up and we're going to throw hitch. If we hit hitch, he's going to walk up and we're going to hit fade or hitch and go or whatever if he's driving on the hitch.
I can't tell you how many times in the middle of a game I watch them catch a hitch. I'm just like, shit, they're going to score right here. Because I know. I tell the kid, don't bite on it. And he goes, what does he do? They're not catching another one on me, coach.
Yeah. No, and I mean, so when you design, when you design your pass package, this is the route that we want to run this week. This is the one that we want to feature. These are the tags that we want to have off of it. This is how we want the game to go. This is how we expect the game to go. And you have to, there's not enough practice time for us to say, well, we have to have everything ready. That's what 7-on-7 is for.
Right.
We've done it. So if we have to make a halftime adjustment and say, all right, they just installed cover 2 this week. I don't know why, but out of nowhere, they installed cover 2 this week. We need to run smash. And it's there. We did it. Everybody knows how to do it. I mean, it's just a hitch on the outside and a corner out on the inside. It's not hard.
Right.
And of course, then we install smash, and then we have tags off of that and everything else too. So, so we have different things that we can do. And, we can solve post. We go post, they go cover 0. All right. We need to throw post. We need to throw post wheel. We need to throw all that stuff. Post out, post wheel, post corner, whatever. So, which is a post by the outside and a corner by the inside, not a poco double move. We have that too. So, like, you've again, go back to the 5-day install. We showed everything, but it's not polished. So in game planning, you have to set an expectation. And in general, your good teams are good at something, right? You don't often run into a team who's just flavor of the week and and good at it every week,
right?
Unless they're just superior athletes, and then it's a hard deal anyway. So, yeah, it's like anything else. We've got our cover 3 beater, our cover 1 beater, and then we build our tag system off of it based on what we expect for you to do. We have our secondary route concepts that we want to run, and we go out there and we run it.
Perfect. Yes, I will talk some more about game planning when I get out of this season.
Sure. It's an imperfect science. I mean, it is an imperfect science. It doesn't always go the way that you want it to. When we're really good, it goes the way that we want it to a lot more often. And when we're trying to figure it out, like, it's just like anything else. There are years that 6-5 is a tremendous accomplishment, and there are years 6-4 is a tremendous accomplishment, and there are years that 6-4 is a failure.
Yeah.
And so there are games where going 17 for 24 or or let's say 17 for 30 is a tremendous success and a total failure. It just depends on the situation. Also depends on how many yards after the catch you got, or how many of those were fades.
Fade ball.
What it depends on is how many times you scored and how many times they scored, and how those numbers add up.
Right. What are the numbers at the end? Awesome. Well, I know we're kind of short on time here, so we'll go ahead and close out. You'd like to pay the bills here, sir?
Yeah, sure. You can go to joedanielfootball.com/rules as of right now. I think that's still what we have up. It may change, but that will still be there. You can go to the homepage at joedanielfootball.com. We've got some things rotating in and out. It's 40 coach simple rules for coaches who want to win football games, so you can check that out. Especially, I think the really important thing is the non-negotiables. You've got to have your non-negotiables, and that's got non-negotiables for every position in there. Plus a lot of coach simple philosophy, drill philosophy, all those kinds of things that are really just really, really important as a football coach. So go to joedanielfootball.com/rules.
Awesome. Quickly, I want to mention athletic speed movement. That is where Joe and I have taken Del Basquet's 45, 6, 7, however many years. He's been at it a long time, ladies and gentlemen, of teaching speed and agility. Not a track coach. He's not going to make your guys step over a barrel every time they step. We're going to put football speed on the football field and have your kids making cuts, looking great. Pulling, that's my favorite thing, is the fact we can use it with O-linemen.
Yeah.
It's pretty hard to use track programs with O-linemen.
We
This is the
are
program that bridges that gap.
we are in week 8 now, where we have gotten past the way that it's structured. The first 5 weeks are just teaching you how to run. Yep. And then you have from there how to run fast, but more important, how to move fast on the football field is what we're doing. So right now it's a lot of lateral to sprint type movements, and slowing down and speeding up. So there's a lot of decel to sprint, sprint to decel, because that's what we have to do in a football game. Right. If you sprint everywhere, it doesn't work. And just sitting here watching it and watching, like many of you, and we're in a part of the year where some guys are coming out of track, coming out of other sports, and they're showing up. But also our young guys, some of them have been a little inconsistent. Some of them are just coming out. And it is incredible to see the kids who have been doing it for 8 weeks and the kids who haven't, and the kids who shouldn't be faster, but are. And when I say shouldn't be faster, I don't mean they shouldn't be faster than they were before. I mean, shouldn't be faster than the kids they're running faster than. That your backup, your third string H-back shouldn't be running faster than the kid who just got done with track.
Right.
But he is. Like,
that's what I'm talking about. That's what we're looking for, right?
Yep.
Awesome. So what sales are going to be open and closing? This comes out, date is going to be the 6th of June.
We got a little wrench thrown in, so we may still be doing defensive play caller system.
Wonderful.
We may still be doing defensive play caller system. I am not sure. If not, then we'll be getting to offensive play caller system at the end of June.
Perfect. Social media, I am at Coach Chambo OK on Twitter/X. You can email me at chamberlainfootballconsulting@gmail.com. Also, jump over and join the Patreon, Chamberlain Football Consulting, probably at Patreon or some crap.com. Patreon, I don't know. Go to patreon.com, look it up. You'll find me. Guys, I've just basically opened some access to my life. Come in, look at how podcasting works. What am I doing in coaching? If you get into the premium tier there, which is the top one, you get to hang out on my phone, which is super cool, using Marco Polo. Basically, you get to FaceTime me whenever you want, which is, I think it's going to be a blast. And it lets coaches really network and communicate and answer questions. Lets me test my mettle. Like, what do I have answers for the things that y'all have? So I'm really looking forward to getting that going and using it. So jump over to Patreon. Joe, where can find you at, sir?
Find me at Football Info on Twitter. You can find me at Joe Daniel Football on Instagram and on TikTok. JoeDanielFootball.com or Facebook.com/Joe Daniel Football, and email Joe at JoeDanielFootball.com. If you are a member, I don't really answer football questions by email. If you have questions, anything like that, about membership or anything about the podcast or just feedback, email me, Joe at JoeDanielFootball.com. I don't answer because I have people that are paying for that information. So if you are a member, ask on the chalkboard, or in our Chalk Talk Q&As. So, but do check out our social medias, adding more and more stuff hopefully soon.
Podcast is at the FBCP on Twitter/X. If this is your first time listening to the Football Coaching Podcast, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. You can find us on your favorite podcatcher. Spotify and Apple Podcasts can be the biggest ones. If you've been listening for a while, please leave a review, especially on Apple and Spotify. Once again, we request a 4 or 5 thumbs up stars, whatever they got. If it's lower than that, leave it. You might shoot us a message, an email, something, and let us know what you dislike about the podcast. It could just be a simple mistake we made, or maybe it's that we talk too much on a podcast. We've gotten a little bit of everything there. So thank you for listening to this episode.
More good
of
than
Football.
bad. That's all that matters.
There we go. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Football Coaching Podcast. Remember, coach simple, play fast, win.